Hurricane-force winds and fears about flooding. This was the scene in Nome tonight as Alaska's west coast is being battered.
Good evening. Forecasters say it's one of the strongest storms in recorded history to ever hit Alaska.
And tonight, communities all along Alaska's west coast are bearing the brunt of brutal winds and the threat of storm surge.
Ted Land and photojournalist Carolyn Hall Jensen are in Unalakleet tonight, and they filed this report as residents brace for the worst.
The wind is really starting to pick up in Unalakleet this evening. It was calm much of the day. Then around 6 p.m. it started getting really breezy. Not a lot of people out and about this evening. Most people staying inside, preparing for this massive storm. Some have left town altogether. Just down the street is the school. That's one of the evacuation centers.
The worst of the storm is expected to hit early in the morning, perhaps by daybreak.
We've had some bad windstorms, and we had flooding a couple of years ago, but I've been here about 5 years, so this is the worst that I've seen so far.
You can actually see, let me show you this, that snow is blowing into the building even though the door is closed. Let me take you outside, show you what people here are dealing with and why folks are taking this storm so seriously. Okay, here's an emergency phone number for you guys in Nome if you cannot call 911, which I'm hearing you cannot. It's 304-4911. The concern among residents is that a storm surge would push into this kind of basin into some of the houses that are just beyond these structures here.
We're going to go to Unalakleet and in Alaska. Joining us now live is KTUU reporter Ted Land. I know there's about a 6-second delay, Ted. What's the latest there?
Good morning, Al. This is one of those western coastal communities in Alaska that's really feeling the full brunt of this winter storm. As you can see, the lights are on. The heat is on inside the school here where we're set up. This is one of the evacuation shelters here in Unalakleet where people can come if they don't feel safe in their homes tonight because of the winds or the possibility of the storm surge.
Good. Someone watching from northern Nevada. How many people are in the shelter is a question. Okay, good question. None. From my knowledge, we haven't seen anything. The gymnasium is dark. They turned off the lights. They have cots, but they're not being used. Another person asks, can I see the ocean from where I am? No, I cannot. It's close, though. It's a few hundred yards from where we are.
The storm surge is the worry now. This is video of the surge splashing over the bluff of Little Diomede Island, located in the middle of the Bering Strait. The massive storm continues to bombard the western coast of the state tonight. Good evening. That video is just one of the numerous pieces of evidence of the effects from this fierce Bering Sea Storm.
It's a similar situation in Unalakleet. That's where Channel 2's Ted Land spent the night last night.
We heard locals say it more than once. The storm that swept onshore late in the night should have had a name. It was so fierce and unrelenting, the west coast of Alaska hadn't seen anything like it in decades. To just call it another weather system would have been a serious understatement.
It's just after midnight, and this is the strongest that we felt the wind all evening. Winds are gusting about up to 60 miles an hour in some parts of town, 50 miles an hour in other parts. Winds really started picking up around 6 o'clock in the evening. By 8 o'clock, they got even stronger, and this is by far the strongest we felt the gusts of the entire evening.
The community of Unalakleet hardly slept a wink. How could you in these conditions? The winds died down significantly by daybreak. But then, another threat started rising.
I'm worried after they told us that it was coming in so fast.
I'm not real hopeful that we're going to keep water out of town. I mean, doesn't look good right now.
Jeff Erickson made the decision early. Round up the kids and put them to work, building a barrier around the garage. It was like preparing for a hurricane.
Go ahead and get a couple there, ready to base.
Except with hurricanes,
Nice, good rows, side by side.
you don't have to worry about frozen sandbags.
It is rising minute by minute. Take a look at what the water's like right now. We've been out here about 10 minutes, and it's still coming up foot by foot as the day progresses, and we're not even at high tide yet.
Well, I think you can worry only so much, and then there's nothing you can do. I mean, we can't move our house, so.
Andriy Grishkowski and the kids from across the street didn't seem particularly bothered. that the surge was coming within feet of their oceanfront property.
It looks cool, kind of.
At least the windows were secure. If things got really ugly, they said they'd evacuate to higher ground. Out at the airport, the crashing waves threatened one of the hangars. Maintenance crews fought the water with snow. We had to wonder if that barrier would stand a chance. But with the ocean rising so rapidly, it was really their only defense.
Woo! That was pretty rough.
The show continued all day, and it didn't let up.
The wind just switched, too.
For a community so used to weathering the worst.
That's way above normal. That's like 7 to 8 feet above normal.
This is one blast they won't soon forget.
Pretty bad out there, though.
With photojournalist Carolyn Hall Jensen, Ted Lance.
Rough.
Channel 2 News.
Flooding, power outages, and evacuations, it's all part of that powerful storm that has battered the western coast of Alaska for the past 2 days.
And while some villages are seeing a lessening of the storm, others say the water is still surging. Warnings still in effect through this morning.
Channel 2's Ted Land and photojournalist Carolyn Hall Jensen have been covering the story from Unalakleet.
As you can see, one of the roads here in Unalakleet was closed for much of the night. It's because of the storm surge. It was getting really close to people, ATVs, snow machines, vehicles. People were going down this road trying to see the mess that was churning up in the ocean and getting pushed very close to some of those homes. I want to show you what's left behind. There's a pool of water in this low-lying area. It actually found a channel beyond some of these houses here. The actual shoreline is about 100 yards beyond where we are standing. A snow machine windshield. This was washed up earlier. A lot of big chunks of ice like this one. This is one of the smaller ones, actually. A whole bunch of tree branches. If you go all the way even farther, you can see how deep it is here.
A new photo from NASA shows the massive Bering Sea Storm just before it hit Alaska's western coast. It brought with it hurricane-force winds and towering sea surges. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, it seems the worst of that storm has passed through, and now residents along the coastline are left picking up after the storm.
Channel 2's Ted Land and photojournalist Carolyn Hall Jensen made it to Nome today and filed this report on the cleanup.
The storm has left its mark here in Nome, but it's a minor damage for the most part. You can see just a siding torn off a few buildings here, other debris laying throughout the streets. Another building down here has some other minor damage, parts of the roof torn off, and also some of the siding over there. If you take a stroll around town, every block or two, you'll see some chunks of ice or maybe another piece of aluminum. As you can see, traffic's still moving on the street here. The bank is open, people going about their business, restaurants are open, people doing their grocery shopping.
All right, cool.
Nome is picking up the pieces, but there aren't many of them.
It's just another blizzard in Nome for a lot of us.
The winter storm that swept onshore left behind occasional debris, a collapsed storefront, and some good stories.
It was like it was pounding on the side of your house. It came from all different directions.
They took the warning seriously, no doubt. Forecasters expected the high winds and storm surge to cause widespread damage and threaten the lives of Alaskans all up and down the western coast.
I suppose it's always better to err on the cautious side. It's better than saying that there's no problem at all and have everybody be stuck and surprised. So, but yeah, it turned out to be a lot less than we were expecting.
Who knows? The whole ordeal just might pay off for this town of prospectors.
The only good thing is all this turning around that ocean's done is there's going to be nuggets on the beach once it all dies down.
Quiet, I'll get quiet.